The footage presented from Sinners originates from a fictional horror film. Any references to violence or material content are purely fictional. All actions are executed by a professional cast and crew. The footage is intended solely for commentary and analytical purposes. Sinners is a horror flick from 2025, crafted by Ryan Coogler, who wrote, co-produced, and directed it. Set in the Mississippi Delta in 1932, it features Michael B. Jordan playing twin brothers who come back to their hometown for a fresh start, only to face a supernatural menace. The cast also includes Haley Stanfield, Miles Caton in his first film role, Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Mosaku, Jamie Lawson, Omar Miller, and Delroy Lindo. In January 2024, Ryan Coogler was reported to be working on a period film set in the Jim Crow era South that features zombies. This project, which is still untitled, is being developed through his company Proximity Media, with Michael B. Jordan taking the lead role. In April and May 2024, they announced more cast members. Filming kicked off in New Orleans on April 13, 2024, with the working title Grilled Cheese, and wrapped up on July 17. Autumn Durald Archipel, who previously collaborated with Coogler on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, shot the film using 65mm and a mix of IMAX 15x50mm and Ultra Panavision 70mm cameras, resulting in scenes that switch between 1.431 and 2.761 aspect ratio. The production budget was $67.6 million spent on location in Louisiana.
Right.
Y'all wrong for that. No, don't do me like that.
The Sinners is set to hit theaters in the U.S. on April 18, 2025, after being pushed back from its original March 7th release date to give more time for post-production, especially since they needed more film stock labs for the project that rely heavily on film cameras. Besides a regular digital release, the film will also have 10 IMAX 70mm prints.
Did I say no one will like you? I've got to be. I'm trying to think of the last time.
Ryan Coogler is a very unique and special person. We've been working together over a decade.
I was working on Creed and both Panthers. I saw him like that same kind of love of the process, of the craft and the work.
You want to be on?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
I've been in and then trying to like feel what friends is, just so I kind of.
Yeah.
You want to go right here?
I mean, the only thing you need is to be done, bro. You can go straight down.
Like go straight here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We both enjoy challenging ourselves and each other. Each time we work together, it feels like the challenge has gotten more and more ambitious. My relationship with IMAX goes back to 2008, summer 2008. I saw The Dark Knight Thursday night at 4 a.m. because that was how we were doing it back then. And since then, I've been day one any IMAX release. But you know, I don't know if if any of them have made me feel like how Chris made me feel. He was the first call that I made, and his biggest advice was just to treat it like it was a Super 8 camera. You know, he was like, don't bow down to the camera and just make it like you would make a normal movie.
Additional cast members were revealed in April and May 2024. Filming kicked off in New Orleans on April 14, 2024 under the working title Grilled Cheese and wrapped up on July 17. The cinematography was handled by Autumn Durand Arkapaw using 65mm film and a mix of IMAX 15x70mm and Ultra Panavision 70mm cameras, resulting in scenes that switch between 1.43, 151, and 2.761 aspect ratios. The production spent $67,600,000, $271, and the overall budget eventually increased to around $100 million. And the overall budget eventually increased to around $100 million.
Sammy!
These cameras, how much do they weigh?
100 pounds.
So the cameras weigh 100 pounds. How much does the Sony Venice weigh?
Like 37.
All right,
40 pounds.
So we're talking about 60 to 70 pound
Yes.
difference.
A lot heavier.
So these cameras are a beast. Back up.
Frontal, you prefer being like squared up or like?
I'm that guy who buys the IMAX ticket, Thursday night for whatever's opening, and I love seeing film projected. I think it's the most premium, immersive experience. And so, once we tested it and we saw the footage screen here at IMAX, that was kind of when we made our decision that it would make sense. And we wanted to do something exciting and unique, and it's the most immersive format there is. So the story that we're telling, it made sense for it, I would say.
Yeah, it's on the page for sure.
These characters are larger than life, but also if a big sell of this movie is, we're gonna show, a generation of Americans that are often overlooked. People feel uncomfortable talking about, people don't wanna spend time with, but to me, these people from this era are giants. You know what I mean? Like they towering figures. Musicians aside, just the people that endured, that time to help us get to where we are now. So I was like, it has to be shot in the most epic format. That's such a cinematic statement. When we got into it, man, we realized that just that decision, it put us on the forefront of a lot of things. It put us in rarefied air in the world, and getting to see how Autumn shaped light every day to capture the clothes that Ruth made for the characters, and the sets that Hannah built. A lot of sets built from the ground up in this movie. And I would say, like, our film deals with the Delta blues. This art form that was invented by African Americans, and it eventually became all of these other forms of music that we enjoy both in the United States and globally. So we were inspired by all of those musicians, your Tommy Johnsons, Robert Johnson, Son House, Skip James, Geechee Wiley, Muddy Waters, obviously, Holland Wolf, the list goes on. And also, man, I love going to see movies in IMAX. And the film has such a specific look. And it's really because, like, nobody's really made a movie with a cast like this, in a location like this with this format, And Autumn and Hannah and Ruth, they have very specific ways of attacking their craft. It's just made for something extremely massive in scale, but also extremely bespoke and unique, which is what I'm all about as a maker of things, but also as a consumer.
I think what makes it so satisfying and enjoyable, to work with Coog, would be, you know, I think the comfort of it all. You know, I think you know, the trust. You know, knowing that it's going to be, you know, an enjoyable experience, and you know, I'm gonna get pushed. You know what I'm saying? Beyond my comfort zone. The process is kind of like going from one character to the next. Like for me, it was a lot of, you know, music and catchphrases and things of that nature. A body position or a stance, you know, that I worked through to kind of establish the two of them, and you know, locking into that, you know, day after day, you know, you start to create your own rhythm and routine. Every day we left everything, you know, on set, you know, went home with nothing left to give daily, you know, so we put everything into this after seeing the project and seeing how everything came together, because we're playing with a few different genres in this, and tone, and you know, it's a ride. It's definitely a ride.
I have never played a role like this. So, I mean, I guess going back to my first conversation with Ryan, that was before I'd even read the script, hearing from him about this character and about this person and this person's life and her role in this world that he was creating was so, there was no part of it that wasn't compelling to me. Mary has this fierce confidence and power that she knows is there, but is also like simultaneously discovering it in real time, and using it in a way that is so smart. I guess too, just really leaning into the part of this role that feels very mature and adult. I've waited a long time to be this moved by a role.
Been the most fun and the most fulfilling experience work-wise. Because of the writing, because of the character and cast, and largely because of Ryan. Yeah, so yeah, I have no hesitation with saying this has been easily the best, most fun, most fulfilling job that I've been fortunate enough to do. It's rooted in history, and it's rooted in something factual and something I find personally very, very interesting anyway. So to create this character that is kind of supernatural yet also very natural too, or very, there's a realism to that also. It's not so outlandish that it's beyond all conception. It was just wildly thrilling, and I guess with him being around for as long as he says he's been around for, there comes a certain complexity with his character, with his personality, with what he's capable of, how he's able to read people, and you know, he's not your average. He's not human. He's got a different take on mortality.
You know, working with Ryan has been, you know, incredible. I think he's a brilliant, you know, director. I feel like it's one thing to have an idea, and it's another thing to be able to execute it. And I just feel like, you know, once I got here and I got to see the set and you know, the cars, the locations, the different places, to see all of that stuff come together, it was, you know, really exciting to see. You know, he always looks out for everybody on set. You know, he makes sure everybody's good, and he really is a coach. You know, he'll get all of us in a circle, and he'll, you know, give us the plan, and he'll tell us what the goal is that we all need to accomplish together, but then he'll also take everybody aside and, you know, tell us what we need to hit individually so that we can give the best performance. I've been singing, you know, since I was a kid, and when I turned 16, I got a call to sing background for her. And you know, we opened up for Coldplay. We were on tour for the last 3 years, and I get a call from her one day, and she tells me, you I think there's this role that I think you should audition for. Sent him my audition video. A few weeks after that, I got a call back. I went to go do a chemistry read where I got to meet him and, Ludwig and all these different people. And I felt like it went well. Then fast forward a few weeks later, I'm at home, I'm waiting for the news, like what's happening? Did I get it? Did I not? And I think I was at the mall at the time or somewhere, and I get a call from a number from Oakland, California, and I pick it up. And I'm like, hello? He's like, Miles Caton? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is Ryan. I was like, what's up, Ryan? He's like, bro, you got the role. I was like, what? He said, yeah, you got the role. And I was in complete shock.
From the first meeting with Ryan, I knew that he was a deep thinker and a high thinker. He vibrates with intention and respect and honor for honesty. I want to say it's for the ancestors. Honestly, that's just, he never just feels like he's talking about one thing. It always feels like there's meaning. There's always just always the ancestors talking through him. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel that. And there's just this reverence for our people and who we are and what and where we're from and who we're from and our strength and our weaknesses. And so like I said, working with him, it feels like magical. I feel quite emotional most days when I come onto set, because I know that there's meaning and there's growth and there's a challenge, and we're gonna meet it. And that's what it feels like working with Ryan.
Very early on, Ryan and I were just talking about her character and his inspiration for writing her and what it means for her to not only be in this juke joint, but to stay, especially when everything goes down. And really just talking about how, for her, this is probably the first time in her life that she feels like she has any kind of agency to fight for something. She is a little mysterious, but boy, does she come alive when she's in her element. The gift here has been watching and experiencing the movie evolve as we film, and things that we may have had questions to prior to it really getting fleshed out and evolving, and watching certain moments really become earned, and also like allowing myself to be lost in the story. I think that's actually really key, because my character, when everything goes down, right, it is fantastical. Everything that's happening is outside of the norm. She can't grasp all of what's happening. It is otherworldly. And so I really just leaned into all of that, and let the movie spin me, as I hope it'll spin audience members, to get lost in this environment that we don't know.
I love that he is so collaborative, and I feel like the film has grown tremendously from day one since we started, because he sees his writing being brought to life by the actors, and the more he learns about the actors, the more he's open to finding ways to complement both how the actor brings his dialogue to life and how he can improve that based on just how he learns more about us throughout the journey. And in that same breath, we also pay so much attention to how Ryan reacts with every take. We're constantly I am always watching him whenever he watches playback, and I just love that he's so open to us playing with different choices. And I love that he cannot hold himself from giggling sometimes when we have great, funny takes and he cries from laughing so hard.
Ryan is fantastic. Ryan and his wife are total goals, couple goals, life goals. They're making this film together. It's a collaborative process. The great thing about Ryan is he's full of energy and he's young and he collaborates with you. You're always a part of crafting the character. You're always a part of the story. And he's very, very clear about where you are in the story for each scene, what just happened, what's about to happen, and getting your thoughts and encouraging that. So it's been a great experience in the cast. There's not enough, superlatives to throw around because, man, we stumbled upon a really solid group of people. And I have to give Ryan credit for that. I have to give all the producers, Sev and Rebecca and Zinzi, all of them credit for that because this is a great group. And it's a great group because it's a really great mix. It's like a melange of veterans and new people, thespians and singers and pop stars and movie stars and, all sorts of different walks of life in real life getting represented on screen as different walks of life to tell this wild, crazy tale of a story. I mean, the story is completely berserk.
Opinions, points of view that people have, he listens to everybody. And certainly he has listened to me throughout this process in a way that is extremely respectful and feels collaborative. He's worked with me to, wherever we can, flesh out some of those moments to ensure that my character, who is very, very dynamically introduced in the first half, that I don't get lost in the second half. So it's been very collaborative, deeply respectful, and I've had a very, very good time from that standpoint. It's a terrific thing when one gets the feeling that we're all moving in the same direction. And I feel that. Look, obviously, actors have different ways of working, but the analogy that I always make, I always use a train. And we're all on, it feels to me that we're all on the train going in the same direction. And that's rewarding, and that feels good. That feels really good. It's a great cast. And I have to say also a really good crew, which is a reflection of Ryan, as far as I'm concerned. Film is hierarchical, and it all kind of filters down from the director. And because he's very collaborative, and he's intent on presenting, he's intent, like as we all are, intent on getting things as right as they can be. And there's a lot of support in that regard for him, for the story.
This film was just an incredible opportunity for me. And more than anything, I found it was an opportunity for me to write a love letter to cinema, to all of the things that I love about going to the movies and watching movies with an audience. That feeling that drove me to want to become a filmmaker, drove me to film school, drove me to want to learn how to create these things. And I'm incorporating all of the lessons that I've learned, over the last 4 films that I've written and directed, maximizing all the relationships that I formed with all of the folks that helped me make those movies. And I'm kind of just like, cashing it in, you know what I'm saying, on this picture. And at the same time, it's the first film that I've made, like, since I think I've become like a fully formed person, you know what I mean? Kind of know who I am, you know what I mean? For the first time, you know, I'm a dad, a husband, a business owner, and I've been through some things, you know, and it's given me some perspective, but also I'm still curious about life, and those questions are put into this film. So yeah, I think in many ways it's the most important movie I've ever made. It's straight from me to audiences. Oftentimes I'll write scripts with actors in mind. I still did that on this one, but I also kind of like had to take a step back and try to put the actor away as much as I could and just imagine the characters, you know? And I think with this film, that process kind of paid off, because these performances from Michael are so much different from anything else that I've seen him do before. I knew that we would need actors that had experience in some of these smaller roles, you know? But also the film would need actors that would be discoveries in some of these roles specifically too. And once the screenplay was written, I kind of knew if there was an actor out there who could do the parts. I kind of had them in mind, and this was one of those movies where, you know, for the most part, everybody said yes. I always wanted to work with Delroy. I always wanted to work with Omar. I've been wanting to work with Wumi since I saw her. And then Jack O'Connell, man, I always loved, man. It's like his performance in Starred Up just blew me away. You know, I always wanted to work with him since I saw that film. And then the other folks, man, that we found through the auditioning process, man, it was just fantastic. I mean, even a lot of the local actors in Louisiana were just incredible, man. And it wouldn't have worked without these performances. Finding our Sammy in the film it was a thing that would make or break the film. You know, you had to believe that this kid had the talent, you know, that would attract this type of attention that it does in the film, both in the community and supernaturally. We knew that was always gonna be the hardest thing. So that was the thing we got started on first. We were looking for Sammy before we had a script. And we looked everywhere, man. We read incredible actors and musicians from all over the world, man. We get tapes from Paris, we get tapes from the continent. It was insane. You know, Miles sent in a tape from New York, and then you just heard that voice, you know, and it was instantly like, you know, you never forgot it. When you got time to read his pages, he was far and away the best of all of the folks, even though he had never acted before. You could tell he was green, but it was green in a way that, like, you know, hey man, maybe we could do something, you know. So we brought him out for a chemistry read with Mike B, and we brought Ludwig, our composer and executive producer on the film. We brought him to the chemistry read as well, so Ludwig could kind of fill him out in terms of his musical abilities and his ability with the guitar. He had to learn the guitar for the movie because he's a pianist. And yeah, man, he just continued to impress us. You know, he's very involved in the process early on. A big sell of this movie is, you know, we're gonna show, you know, a generation of Americans that are often overlooked. People feel uncomfortable talking about, people don't want to spend time with, but to me, these people from this era are giants. You know what I mean? Like they towering figures. Musicians aside, just the people that endured, you know, that time to help us get to where we are now. So I was like, oh, it has to be shot in the most epic format. That's such a cinematic statement. When we got into it, man, we realized that just that decision, it put us on the forefront of a lot of things. It put us in rarefied air. And also, man, I love going to see movies in IMAX. And the film has such a specific look. And it's really because, like, nobody's really made a movie with a cast like this, you know, in a location like this with this format, you know. And Autumn and Hannah and Ruth, they have very specific ways of attacking their craft. It's just made for something extremely massive in scale, but also extremely bespoke and unique, which is, you know, what I'm all about as a maker of things, but also as a consumer.
Music. Ludwig Göransson, who often teams up with Coogler, created the soundtrack for Sinners. He called it a personal and ambitious project that mirrors his musical journey. Drawing from blues influences, he played the score on a 1932 Dobro Cyclops resonator guitar, the same one used by Sammy in the film. Before production started, Coogler shared some 1930s and 1940s recordings with Göransson, especially those by Robert Johnson and Tommy Johnson.
I remember when we first realized we were gonna make the movie, and I had to go on a scouting trip to kind of, see Mississippi, to see the landscape that I was gonna try to recreate. You and your dad were already planning on taking a trip down there. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
I started playing guitar and I started getting interested in music very early on. It was because of my dad. My dad he was a guitar teacher. He started playing rock guitar when he was 11 or 12, Rolling Stones, the Beatles. And then he transitioned into classical guitar. And then what he really got invested in and got interested in early on was blues. At that time, I think there was like late 50s. In Europe, my dad's Swedish, Rolling Stones, they were pretty adamant to let everyone know who their inspiration was for their music. So they brought over all these American blues musicians that at that time in America was not recognized, because the audience in America wasn't what people play on the radio. So they got Howlin' Wolf over to the UK, Buddy Guy. They play these big TV shows, got a lot of traction in Europe. So when Buddy Guy and Howlin' Wolf became stars in Europe, that's like when in America, people are like, oh, these are Americans. Why aren't they famous in America? Why didn't they play here? So then they started to get bookings in America, but then they were already old then. They were in their 50s, 60s. So my dad heard one of the first records that he bought was John Lee Hooker and Howlin' Wolf and Buddy Guy, and his favorite guitar player was Albert King. That was his number one hero.
They both agreed that Ludwig's wife, Serena, should produce the songs. Serena, a classically trained violinist, emphasized the importance of treating Southern Black music with care and expertise, saying she felt like a steward with this project, especially with the music. I just feel that it has a life of its own. The couple collaborated with blues producer Lawrence Boo Mitchell, who owns Royal Studios, and they explored the B.B. King Museum and local juke joints in Clarksdale and Indianola for inspiration. Over 5 days, they recorded at Royal Studios with musicians like Alvin Youngblood Hard and Cedric Burnside. Mitchell also invited other blues artists, including Brittany Howard, Raphael Sadiq, Bobby Rush, Christone Kingfish Ingram, and Buddy Guy, who appears in the film.
Buddy Guy became involved in this film. I feel like you probably had him in your head while you were writing the script.
Yeah. I wrote the movie chiefly inspired by my relationship with my Uncle James.
Yeah.
My Uncle James Edmondson, who for a long period of my life was the oldest male member of my family. I was very close with him. We all were. I loved him very much. He was from Mississippi, born and raised there, fled the state like when he was like, I want to say his early 20s, to Oakland, where he came where my grandmother and her sisters were living. He married my grandmother's younger sister, Sammy. Mm-hmm. My Aunt Sammy is who I named Preacher Boy for. He was a very particular man. He would just listen to blues records on vinyl when he was off from work, drink Old Taylor whiskey and listen to the San Francisco Giants on the radio or watch them on TV, the baseball team. And he would only go out to see blues musicians. That's when he would go get dressed up real nice and go out. And for like the last 10 years or so of his life, Buddy Guy was kind of like the last one left, and he would make a ritual of going out to go see Buddy Guy when he came to Northern California. And when he was too old to drive, my mom and my cousin Wendy would get dressed up and drive him to go see Buddy Guy. So I was writing the script basically for him.
The Goinsons rented a studio that used to be a church in New Orleans and worked with cast members Jack O'Connell, Lola Kirk, Peter Drumanis, and Jamie Lawson, rehearsing their songs multiple times. A lot of the film was shot live on set, with the cast performing alongside blues musicians. Haley Steinfeld contributed an original song titled Dangerous for the movie. Unlike most Warner Brothers movies that usually have their soundtracks come out via Water Tower Music or Warner Music Group's labels, the soundtrack and score for Sinners were put out by Sony Music. It dropped on April 18th, 2025, the same day as the film, and includes 22 tracks from various blues artists and the cast. The main single, Sinners, sung by Rod Wave, was released a couple of weeks earlier. Sinners hit theaters in the U.S. on April 18, 2025, after being pushed back from its original March 7th date. The delay was to give the team more time for post-production, since they were short on film stock labs, as the movie relied a lot on film cameras. Along with a regular digital release, it also came out in 10 IMAX 70mm prints box office. As of May 2nd, 2025, Sinners has made $156.2 million in the US and Canada, plus $51 million elsewhere, totaling $207.2 million globally. Some sources suggested the film needed to earn between $170 and $185 million to break even, considering its production costs, Coogler's earnings, and streaming deals with Prime and Netflix. Other estimates for breaking even range from $200 to $225 million, with one source even suggesting $300 million due to the film's budget and marketing expenses, which were around $50 to $60 million, along with the assumption that theaters take half of ticket sales. Many fans and industry figures, including Ben Stiller, who tweeted in support of the film and got over 300,000 likes, criticized media outlets like Variety, The New York Times, and Business Insider for downplaying the film's broad appeal by concentrating on its box office numbers, Coogler's pay, and profitability speculation. In the US and Canada, Sinners was expected to earn between $30 and $40 million from 308 theaters during its opening weekend. It pulled in $19.2 million on its first day, which included about $4.7 million from Thursday night previews. Ultimately, it debuted with $48 million, surpassing expectations and taking the top spot at the box office, beating out Warner Brothers' own A Minecraft Movie. This opening marked the best start for an original film since Jordan Peele's Us, which made $71 million in 2019. It was also the 8th time Warner Brothers led the Easter weekend box office since 2000, and the first time a studio had two films each grossed over $40 million in a single weekend since 2009. A lot of walk-up business, especially on Saturday, and positive word of mouth helped boost the opening, with 61% of attendees buying tickets on the same day. Spring break contributed too, with 34% of K-12 schools and 9% of colleges on break. Premium large format and IMAX screenings accounted for 45% of the opening. Exit polls showed that 47% of moviegoers bought tickets because of Jordan, 40% for Coogler, and 45% due to positive word of mouth. Additionally, 64% of attendees were 35 or younger, with 46% aged 25 through 34 and only 2% under 18. The audience was diverse, with 49% Black, 27% Caucasian, 14% Latino and Hispanic, 6% Asian, and 4% Native American/other, indicating a strong turnout from various demographics. The film also earned $15.4 million from 71 international markets, matching Get Out and surpassing Nope and Speak No Evil, leading to a global opening weekend total of $61 million. Thanks to word of mouth buzz, the film raked in $7.8 million on Monday, making it the second highest Monday earnings for an R-rated horror flick, just behind its $8.6 million back in 2017. It also pulled in $8.6 million on Discount Tuesday, $7.1 million on Wednesday, and $6 million on Thursday, wrapping up its first week with a total of $77.5 million, surpassing the 7-day totals of The Conjuring, $69.7 million in 2013, and Get Out, $49.8 million. Sinners beat expectations for its second weekend, grossing $45.7 million, which was above the projected $19.224 million, and it topped the box office again. The 4.8% drop in earnings was better than 2025's Heart Eyes, plus 19%, and 2017's Get Out, 15%, for R-rated horror films. This performance marked the third best second weekend for any film that opened over $40 million, following 2001's Shrek, plus 0.3%, and 2009's Avatar, 0.8%. It was also the second best second weekend for an R-rated horror film after It, $60.1 million, and the third best second weekend for Coogler, following Black Panther, $111.6 million in 2018, and its sequel, Wakanda Forever, $66.4 million in 2022. Deadline pointed out that the audience for the film had expanded, with female viewers now making up 56% of the audience, up from 43% in the first weekend, and those under 25 accounting for 34%, up from 20%. The demographic shows 43% Black, 25% Caucasian, 17% Latino and Hispanic, and 11% Asian. Yet the film also earned $13.5 million from 71 international markets, thanks to strong word of mouth and solid performances in various countries. After giving up its premium large format and IMAX screens to the new release Thunderbolts, the film still managed to achieve the best third weekend for a horror movie with $33 million, a 28% drop, surpassing It, $29.7 million. With strongholds in Latin America and Europe, it also made $10.4 million internationally over the weekend. Critical analysis. On Rotten Tomatoes, 98% of 339 critics gave positive reviews, averaging an 8.8 out of 10 rating. The site's consensus states, a thrilling blend of stunning visuals and catchy music, writer-director Ryan Coogler's debut blockbuster showcases his unique creativity. Metacritic, using a weighted average, scored the film 84 out of 100 based on 55 critics, reflecting universal acclaim. Cinema Score audiences rated it an A on an A+ to F scale, the highest for a horror film in 35 years. And post-track surveys showed a 92% positive score, with 84% of viewers saying they would definitely recommend it. Critics have been raving about Coogler's vision and the film's stunning visuals. Rolling Stone's A.A. Dowd noted that the director is pushing the limits of typical franchise films, while Wendy I.D. from The Observer mentioned that Coogler's confidence and creativity keep everything cohesive. And Hornaday of the Washington Post highlighted Coogler's impressive self-awareness and praised the performances of Jordan, Masaku, and Keaton. Some reviewers felt that the film's more realistic first half was stronger than the later supernatural elements. Peter Travers from ABC News called Sinners the best film of 2025, stating it's Coogler and Jordan's most ambitious work to date. On the flip side, Zachary Barnes from the Wall Street Journal acknowledged Jordan's strong performance, but criticized the film for lacking thematic cohesion, suggesting that Coogler's creativity is still somewhat confined by Marvel's conventions. Critics really loved the music in Sinners, highlighting how essential it is to the film's narrative. David Ehrlich from IndieWire mentioned that while this isn't the first time Ludwig Göransson's score has been crucial to a Ryan Coogler film, Sinners starts with a discussion about music that's so pure it can pierce the veil between life and death, past and future, and then it delivers exactly that. May Abdul-Baki from Screen Rant pointed out that the music from the character songs to Göransson's score elevates the film significantly. Amy Nicholson from the Los Angeles Times called the score phenomenal, noting it feels like music you've never heard, yet resonates deeply with our pop cultural essence. David Rooney from The Hollywood Reporter described it as flavorful, with the score and blues performances blending together in a captivating way. Barnes from the Wall Street Journal referred to Göransson's score as a twangy marvel of genre-crossing interpolation. Thank you for showing love to the video, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like the video by hitting the thumbs up and subscribe and share with your family and friends. This content is created by a true fan of horror for hardcore horror nerds. Your support is truly appreciated.